All right, welcome to the Songwriter's Couch. We are on episode number 50. Can you believe it, Allie? Episode number 50. Unbelievable. Unbelievable stride. Unbelievable marathon of media creation we've done over the last, how long have we been doing this now? 2 years almost, or a year? Something like that. Give or take a year and a half, something like that. But thank you to everyone that's been watching and listening and commenting and all the likes. So speaking of likes and commenting, though, don't forget to go down there and subscribe and like. And before I forget, go ahead and go on patrickjoen.com, links in the description, and purchase some of our new merch like these cool pins that you can use to pierce your nipples, maybe your belly button, maybe a toe, who knows, but take a look at them. They're pretty cool. At least back in the 90s, buttons were cool. But the 90s are coming back. So we also got some phone cases and things like that, shirts, hoodies, and some amazing new pullovers that say legend across them because you are the legends that we want to play to. So on the show today for our 50th episode, we've got the one, the only, Mr. Kenton DeCross. All right.
Hey, that's me. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
You even got my dryer.
It's singing a little song to me.
It's singing a song too.
Yeah, the half-century episode, and you decided to get your worst guest on here. I'm so excited to be here.
That's right. No, so why don't you tell them why you're the worst possible guest that we could have? No. Tell the people at home here where they can find your stuff, what you do, and that sort of thing, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty.
Obviously, my name is Kenton, Rochester area musician, born in Michigan, but grew up here in Rochester. Oh. And you can find my band's music. I play in a band called the Shut-Ins. You can find us wherever music is streaming. You can find us on the Tidal, the Apple Music, the Spotify.
Yeah, and like we were kind of saying before we had some technical difficulties, Spotify typically don't support just because of the way they pay artists. I mean, there's all those streaming services Yeah. But you got to kind of have to...
I recently, just this past month, I finally canceled the Spotify subscription. And just today I got my first Spotify ad, and I was like, what is that? Oh, it's because I'm not paying you anymore.
They usually do that. So I stopped, speaking of streaming services or whatever, I stopped paying for the ad-free on YouTube or whatever recently. I saved a couple of bucks. I don't need it. Worst decision I ever made. There's so many.
They've gotten worse too. I feel like it's longer now.
But the problem is, some of the stuff that I watch, right? I'm seeing Google's ads, but then the content itself has its own embedded ads in it. So like you'll see the embedded ad that's in the actual video, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, it's over. Get back to the content. Nope, goes right to the YouTube
right
ad.
to the next ad.
Let's not shame YouTube.
Biting the hand.
Oh, we haven't decided who we're shaming this week.
Yeah.
But before we get to the meat and potatoes of the discussion here, Kenton, we're going to do our little what do you call it? Bit, I guess you can call it, or segment. 2 truths and a lie.
2 truths and a lie.
Do you have some things?
I was pondering this.
Okay. So what you're going to do if you don't know the rules of it, let's say, right?
Yeah.
You're going to tell me 3 things, pretending as if all of them are true, but in fact one of them is a dirty, dirty lie. And I've got to try and figure out which one of those things is the dirty, dirty lie.
I think I can do it. I've been doing some research. I was thinking about this because I feel like a lot of people, they say they're 2 truths and a lie in order, and then it makes it really... So I'm going to say in chronological order.
Okay.
Chronological order.
So you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Let's give a little time here to get the cool graphic that is from like 1985 going. There you go. And we're back.
2 truths and a lie.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Hit
Number
with it.
1.
Yeah, hit me with it.
My love for music started at a very young age. I had a family that was very musically inclined. Aunts and uncles would come over every weekend. My dad played sax, and we would hear it constantly. And so I feel very fortunate that from a very young age, I was given the opportunity to play and express myself and enjoy a community sense of music. That's number 1. Number 2, moving a little bit further ahead during college, I hiked on the Appalachian.
That's what you meant by chronological.
Yeah,
So
that's
you're
why
going
we're going in life order. I didn't
life
want
order,
to
I
give
like
it
it.
any sort of. I didn't want to give you any hints.
Yeah.
Uh,
Why not alphabetical order?
By the first word or the last word?
I don't know. Just confusing you.
So number 2, during college, I hiked on the Appalachian Trail, beautiful long trail, connects the whole eastern coast of the United States. And at the very end of that, almost my last experience on the Appalachian Trail, I pulled off to a little hostel in Rutland, Vermont, and realized after staying there that I was being auditioned for a cult. Fortunately, got back on the trail and did not stay there.
Interesting.
And number 3.
How do I know you're not still in it though, and you're trying to recruit me and all my listeners now?
Yeah.
Very-
If you're trying to do some real trad
I like to-
life,
yeah, I lived-
That's what these guys were into.
I like to live on the edge a little bit. Kenton, so.
Me too. This farm was
gotcha.
on the edge of a river, so you know.
I got you.
And then number 3, after college, my first gig out of college was traveling around with a bunch of hippies around the country, making money any way we could, but primarily by making tree houses. So treehouse builder after college. So grew up with music. I hiked on the Appalachian Trail, almost got inducted into a religiously zealot community.
Gotcha.
And then traveled around with another kind of zealotrous community and built tree houses.
All right, so I
do
got
you
you.
think?
So I will say this, and Allie, if you agree with me, let me know here. College is a time for experimentation, as they say. And so I'm thinking the second one, maybe you're out there, you're in the woods, were you camping? Or was it
On the trail, I was camping, but
Okay, but
once I got
there's a lodge of some sort, probably, or
a
something
hostel,
along. There you go.
That's how they roped you
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that might be true.
I have a follow-up question for that.
Yes.
What college did you go to?
SUNY Brockport, which I describe as like in Lion King, you know, when Mufasa's talking to Simba and he's like, "You see that place over there? Don't ever go over there." This podcast brought to you by SUNY Brockport, the Elephant Graveyard.
Also, I don't think it's actually picking up your microphone, Allie, so you're going to have to yell if you're talking. But so I'm thinking the middle one is the truth, right? I'm also thinking the treehouse thing, because it's an unusual thing to say. Right? It's an unusual, but I can see people wanting that, right? There is a market for treehouse builders out there, and I think the first one is kind of like, it's probably true, which is why I think you're trying to throw me off. Maybe your entire family is completely devoid of any kind of music.
I was going to say one is the lie.
Is a lie? Oh, you're agreeing with me.
Yeah, which is weird.
Man.
It took 50 episodes to finally.
No, and you finally got somebody who's a
we-
bad enough liar
we've
in
been-
front of your
no,
camera.
Well, we've been together now, what 6 years now, married, all that, and now
This
finally,
is your first agreement.
Yeah, the first time she's ever agreed with
Never agreed on anything.
anything I've said. All right, so let's get do a little drum roll. Ooh, and let me know which one. So we're going with one is the lie, by the way. In case you didn't pick up on that, but
hate to admit that you guys found me out. You guys found me out. The one was the
we're
lie.
getting better. It only took us 50 episodes to figure out how when someone is lying. So no one in your family was.
So the partial truth, every lie has a little partial truth. My dad played saxophone way back in the day. Unfortunately, my entire life until I graduated and moved out, I only heard him take it out of the case 2 times. And every time he did, it was wonderful. It was incredible. But
So he was good too.
He
but
was good once upon, and still today. Like once I moved out, and he's kind of gotten a little bit older, and he's started picking it up again. And my dream is to just jam with my dad a little bit, playing a little bit of music. That would be so wonderful.
Well, that's
the one you're
actually
gonna lead with though. Like ask questions.
yeah, that's kind of interesting to me because and maybe we should dive into that a little bit, and maybe we'll come back to the building tree houses and the experimentation. I'm going to just keep referring to it as the
experimentation.
The experimentation you did in college.
Yeah.
But the like people that can put away, like they stop playing music. I don't know how. I couldn't think of like, okay, I'm going to put my guitar away, and for years never.
Well, I think there's also like
Touch
there's a point that you get to, right, where
Well, let me ask you: was he playing like in school?
he was
and
he was
got
mostly
taught?
playing in school and stuff like that. And so when he graduated, once he no longer had school stuff to kind of keep him involved with it, it kind of you take it out every once in a while, I guess, before I was born, and eventually it just kind of. You move on. Some people move on with a career and a house and kids.
Did he ever tell you why?
I don't think there was. I don't think there. I think it was kind of like probably a war of attrition, right? Like eventually, it's just like a million little things that pull you in other directions. And as a songwriter and a musician, I feel like we probably recognize that as somebody who makes what can be a hobby to a lot of people our entire lives. We can definitely sympathize with.
Was
that.
it something where he was pursuing it as like a main career, or it was kind of just a
No,
hobby?
it was always just kind of like a bonus thing in life, and
maybe that's why it's hard for me to like wrap my head around
yeah.
music. Like it's such a part of my life
It's
that
huge.
You know, my
like-
father is a musician too, so but he's always played in bands still to this day. He's like, oh, I'm going to not have a band anymore. It doesn't. He comes to our practices now and plays.
He's like,
with
can I
us.
just sit in real
Yeah, that's
quick?
what I was like, Dad, I thought you retired from playing. No, you can't get it.
just tell me the key. You won't even know I'm here.
And we're going to come back because I want to learn a little bit more about the other two truths now. But about how you then ended up saying, okay, I want to get into music and do what you're doing. But let's wait on that for a second, because I think the people at home want to hear probably more so than the treehouse building,
The cult
stuff. So we're going to make them wait a little bit more. So the treehouse building, how did that come to be?
So I my last bit of college, I did an internship in Albany and saw how the sausage of politics was made. And going into that, I was kind of sold out on sold into politics. Like that was going to be my thing. I wanted to help as many people as I possibly could, and to me, the way to do that is through policy. Like nothing affects more people in a more serious way than policy. And after one whole term as an intern in Albany, I was like, I don't think I can make any change. I don't think I can do the things that I want to do here.
Why? But because of the way that it was being done,
the way that it was being done, the vibe was wild. Not to say too much, but like going in there, like people in New York need help in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that have a unfair shake of things, and to me, policy is the way to fix that. And the member that I worked for the entire term that I was there passed a bill that was handed to me by a lobbyist about telecommunications and legalized a sport that was not legal in New York State, not to say too much.
Yeah.
Which both things may be necessary, maybe need to get done. But for me, as this little idealist coming out of college, like we can really fix things. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is it? Like you can get to the most powerful position basically in the state, and this is the stuff that you care about. It was so just not the vibe, not the vibe. And it might have been the member that I was with. It might have been a lot of things, but so I got out of that and literally left from the legislative office building. I got this interview. I was doing what every college grad. I was on Indeed and just send resume to
everywhere.
Yeah. And
only the easy apply one.
Yeah, the one that I don't need to rewrite everything again. Right. And I saw this ad for a treehouse builder, and I was like,
wait. So I thought like you and your friends got together and decided, oh, we're going to build some tree houses. So you went on Indeed.
I went on Indeed. So, they put an ad on Indeed for this position.
I'm going to stop you for anyone out there that's like, you know what? I don't want some soul-sucking job. I don't want to go on Indeed and put my resume up there. You can build apparently tree houses and submit a resume to build tree houses.
Songwriter's Couch brought to you by Indeed.
That's right. Brought to you by Indeed. Get your next tree house.
I saw this ad and I was like, I think I could maybe handle that. And I put in my resume. I got a call pretty much immediately for an office from Albany east, almost to the border of Massachusetts, like in this. And I was like, all right, I'll go check it out. I wore my full suit because I left from the legislative office
Can
building.
I ask what was the pay rate that they were?
Better than expected, and because they paid for all my housing and all my food because we were traveling. So I was like, this sounds
unbelievable.
Sounds kind of neat. So
Are you still working there
I'm
now?
not. I'm not. But I showed up to this interview.
Are they hiring?
And the office was in the upstairs of this like country store, like an outdoor staircase that like was all rickety. I walk up it and I like knock on the door, and this German woman opens the door, wonderful human. And she's like, "Are you here for the interview?" And I was like, "Yes." I'm gonna try not to do an accent because that is bad. Yeah. But she's like, "You here for the interview?" I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh." And she's like, "Great." And so she brought me back and she introduced me to the owner of the company, this guy named Gerhard. Another wonderful human, big Austrian dude who was wearing cutoff shorts and a Hawaiian shirt.
So I do know a Gerhard. I actually worked with a Gerhard.
And he does he build tree houses?
No, he doesn't.
No. And Gerhard just like openly laughed at me when he saw that I was wearing a full. He's like, "Do you know what job you applied for?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I don't entirely know." And he's like, after we hit it off, and he's at the end of the interview, he's like, Listen, I don't honestly know if you're going to make it, but I'm willing to give you a shot. If you want to give it a try, come back out here in a week. We have some. And so he brought me out to their shop, which was in East Chatham, New York or something like that. And he left me on their job site. The rest of the crew was out on a job like abroad. And he left me at the job site basically alone with a draw blade and 30 black locust tree trunks. And he's like, "You need to peel every single one of these tree trunks. And if you're still here when I get back, maybe we'll take you to a job site." And he came back 2 weeks later, and my hands were all blistered. I was all sunburnt, and I was like, after being in a stuffy office where it doesn't feel like anything's actually getting done, to being able to see the results of your work at the end of the day, I was like, I'm sold. So I hopped on. Tons of crazy stuff happened. Most of the crew were a bunch of raft guys from West Virginia from a previous build that he kind of poached from there. And so it was just a bunch of these West Virginia boys teaching me how to climb trees the right way.
I'm going on Indeed right after we finish. Right after we finish recording.
I could do that.
Let's give the people what they want now. Maybe give a little condensed version of it, but because I want to talk to you about songwriting too. But how did you end up getting into the?
On the Appalachian Trail, they leave these little log books in all the shelters. So like, there's little lean-tos that are maintained all the way up and down that you just, as you're hiking up, you find a lean-to, and all of them have these little log books, and all of the log books were like, "Coming up in Rutland, be careful. There's a free hiker hostel. Feel free to take advantage, but also know that they're going to try to induct you into this religious community." But by the time you get there, after spending, for me, 3 weeks on the trail, sleeping on basically wood with a little sleeping mat, you're like, "Oh, but there's like a hot meal and a bed?
Yeah.
Like, sign me up." And so I got there and enjoyed my first day. At the end of the first day, the guy who's running the hiker hostel, you get a new name when you join the cult. So his new name was Aish. And Aish was like, "You're welcome to stay. If you want, we can take you to the farm. And you can do some work first day. And you can work there as long as you want." And
as long as you want, like the rest of your life
it's
or
this
whatever.
Beautiful organic farm with like it's in this like river basin. At the end of our first day of work, they took us over to the river and we like cliff jumped into the river. I was like, I could see how people kind of get into this type of thing. This is pretty neat. This is pretty neat. 2 people while I was there joined, and I was like, not me though.
Let me ask you something. Is there like dues you have to pay or something up front?
Just your whole life.
Just your bank accounts, your social security number.
All the money is shared, and by all the money shared, I mean all the money is controlled by the patriarchs. The patriarchs of each of the families. They're
David Koresh or whatever.
It was. In terms of cults, I think there are probably worse ones out there, but it's definitely a high control religious community that was not good for.
I, for one, am glad you decided not to do that because
Me too.
you're on the show today.
Me too.
So we'll get back to how you became a musician, though, because your dad. Obviously, you're saying he's a good
Had
musician.
Some inkling of the music. For
So
sure.
is that something that, like, in your childhood, you just remember him playing occasionally, and that's what made you pursue it? Or, like, how did you get into one? The way we met was you put on a kind of a benefit show,
Yeah.
and we played together. But to put together a band and write songs and do all that is a big undertaking.
It's a lot.
And so your desire to do that must have been strong enough for us to end up talking being on a show together. So how did that all begin for you?
I'll try to thread the needle here. There's definitely a ton of influences. Despite not playing music and making our own music, there's always music playing in the house. Something that we definitely enjoyed.
What kind of music? Like
Lots of oldies. I grew up in a also religious community, so there's a lot of K-Love on the radio. If anyone, shout out to the K-Love listeners out there. Lots of K-Love and stuff like that. When I found like some of my first bands that I really fell in love with, they were bands like Reliant K, which was like a Christian leaning band. And
I've definitely heard of them.
they're like a Christian kind of Christian emo-y band in a lot of ways. So always music playing. I attended a church that had a phenomenal live music atmosphere. So that seeing those people like make music in front of me, I was like, oh, so this is something that like humans can do. Like humans can get together and make this happen. It doesn't just have to be something that's recorded on and it feels even better when it's in person. Yeah. So there's all that, and obviously guitar is the sexiest instrument. So like as a
is
teen,
that true, Allie? Is that true?
I agree.
Well, what's funny when people say it, because I always comment about me. I wish I had like a choir experience so I could learn. So I naturally had the harmony thing happen because they just beat that into you, and like like churches and whatever where there's a lot of music going on. When I grew up, I was in Catholic churches, and there was not any of that. The music scene, was not. While you had that it wasn't. No one was in tune with each other. No one was doing harmonies.
Yeah, this was one of those cool modern churches with a cool lighting system, and like
so that like inspire you. Like, oh,
I'm like that's something that people could do, and so I asked for a guitar, but at that point, my entire life was being like an athlete. Like I was a wrestler, I was a rugby player, and those were like that was it. Like And then, but I was like, I still want a guitar. And so I kind of started teaching myself a little bit on the side, in between other things I was doing. And kind of got to that like campfire guitarist where I could like kind of strum a couple chords and feel okay. And then it kind of stuck to that level for a couple of years. And it wasn't really until pandemic hit, I was offered a night shift at a homeless shelter where I had basically zero responsibilities. And so I had like 3 8-hour shifts a week where I could just show up with my guitar and just practice and play for like 6 of them. And so that was when I think I started kind of getting into like, what does it mean to be a songwriter? Like, what is the strategy? Like, at that point, it was just such a Rubik's Cube. Like, how do you get from blank space to a song? And that's when I started kind of putting the pieces together. How do you know what chords sound good together? How do you like make a melody that doesn't sound grating? Like how do these things start to fit together? And towards the end of quarantine, my band is all friends from way before that. We all worked at a camp together, and we were like, so we have time, maybe for the only time in our lives. Yeah, we have some space. We have the axe, so let's just start jamming. And so we started jamming together, and eventually that jam kind of got enough mass, enough inertia to where we're like, all right, we should at least book a show. Like it doesn't need to be forever. It doesn't, but like we should book a show. And
you're not like, hey, we're gonna play Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, like we have some covers that we really love, and we'd love to share these things with our family in a way that won't be able to be done in like our living room. So like let's figure something out where we can play for our community. And I think the community part is really what's what drew me to it in the first place and what's kind of kept me there is the community around music, local music is unlike really any other art scene, unlike so many things. And both like personally, my band is my family. Like I couldn't do anything without them. But also like the people that come out to shows and support, like that kind of extended family is what's kept me there and what's kept me kind of.
What? I know this is a loaded question, but why?
Why community?
What? No, why? Why does that? And I don't want to put emotions in your head. Like, why does that bring you like enough joy to continue to do it? Because as we were talking before, it's also a giant pain in the ass to be in a band because you're managing schedules. You're trying to book.
It's
gigs
like being married
with venues that want you to be a business person. That's just giving them some sort of money.
It's like being married to 4 people at the same time. I have to put about as much intention. I get to put about as much intention into my relationship with my band as I.
You heard him. The rest of the band. He said had to,
as I do with the literal person I'm marrying, who's so supportive and incredible.
What you might as well.
Oh, Allie, you're probably watching this. Hey, I love you. I'm excited to marry you.
So that's because I feel the same way, and I'm interested. Not only I want to get into the songwriting a little bit too, about what drives someone to do this. I want to say this terrible idea of trying.
How
to
lucky
go
are
out.
we to find something that we love so much that we're going to let it drive us insane?
Right? Yeah, like where you go out.
Right?
And I will play for a bartender. I'll play for one person and be just as intense about it. Because, so whatever it is about going out and playing music, and especially with a band, like that feeling of doing it all together. There's some sort of magic there that I can't explain. Kind of, and songwriting in particular, very few musicians actually become songwriters, though, too, which is, of course, the name of the show. And I'm really
we're getting to the song. Well, we promise.
I'm really interested, like how. So you said you started kind of figuring out, like, what's this Rubik's cube of how do you write a song?
Yeah.
And usually, what I ask people is. Do you start writing something on a guitar and then go to lyrics? Some people approach it like lyric first. I've written these lyrics. The music is kind of after the fact.
Yeah.
Some people write the music first, and then the lyrics are not after the fact, but they're kind of after the song has been written. How do you approach your?
It's such a quagmire because like there really is no one size fits all. Even for me individually writing songs, sometimes you hear a melody and you're like, that melody slaps. I need to record a voice note right now that captures that melody. For me, I think of the like songwriting process in stages. So there's the like gathering inspiration stage, which also requires work. When something hits you, you got to entertain that muse or else she's going to disappear. So get something down on as a voice note, get those little tidbits. Sometimes I call them like fire starters. Get a little fire starter going.
Allie always asks, it's funny because my wife is also Allie and the producer.
Yep.
But she always asks me like, who are you texting or whatever? I'm like, no, I'm just writing something like this little sentence.
And it might not go anywhere, but what I realize is that if you don't indulge that muse, like if you don't indulge that inclination, then that inclination stops.
Yeah.
not all of it's
you forget it. Too,
or you forget it, yeah.
Like, what was that?
You're like, there's something I know was good, but is so a little bit of fire starters and all of these parts. What I've had to come to terms with is all these parts are valid songwriting. Like oftentimes people think that songwriting is sitting down with a pen and paper and writing down lyrics and then writing down chords, but organizing your inspiration is also songwriting. Like finding, reading books of poetry and finding lines that you think are good is songwriting. Taking something from just a chord progression to a chord progression with a melody is song. Like every individual step of this is songwriting. And if you think that you're going to come up with just like a finished product after an hour session, you're going to be. Some people are probably very talented and can kind of pull that off. For me, if I expect to have a finished product after an hour, or even like almost finished, like. That's not it. Progress is the only goal, and to keeping track of what I've been working on, taking something from one stage to the next stage. So maybe this thing doesn't have maybe this thing has like an emotional center, but it doesn't have a hook. So maybe an hour session is just writing 5 hooks, playing them with the idea that you have already, and saying, these 4 are garbage. This one is kind of workable. I'm going to stick a pin in this.
Yeah.
And then my next songwriting session, I'm going to come back and workshop this one hook until it feels even better.
I've had there was a song recently that I've kind of started working on where I thought a particular part of it was going to be the verse, and as I started playing it, it suddenly was like, no, I think that's the hook of the, it's the chorus of the song, I think,
Yep.
and I had to rewrite it so that
It's all about that
I could,
like massaging your pieces into the right area is the secret sauce. And progress over perfection. It's got to be, if you're not moving, an analogy that I think like songwriters use a lot is like a running tap. And like if you just have a drip coming out, it doesn't matter what you do with the drip, you're not going to have enough anything. You got to turn on the flow, let some of the crud flow out that's been backed up in there, and then eventually you'll start to get some nuggets that are worth really kind of mining a little bit better and workshopping.
Yeah.
But so that I mean, super long, laborious process made very short. I think about it in stages, and sometimes that fire starter, that inspiration is a melody line with a chord progression. Sometimes that's just like a line from a poem that I heard that was like, that one line is sick. I'm not going to steal the exact line, but how can I write something that
like
kind
the
of
idea
mirrors
of it.
that emotional message? And then just trying to move things down that conveyor belt. Every time I have to schedule, I'm so ADD that I have to put on timers whenever I'm doing a task. And so I have timers all over my studio and all over my house. If I'm cleaning, there's a timer going.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be cleaning forever. And for whatever reason, my brain is like, if you start cleaning and you don't set a timer, you're going to clean all day. Never once happened. Never, ever once happened. But
Not
my
from
brain
experience.
is like, you got to. So if I'm not setting a timer every day or as often as I can in whatever time I'm in to get some work done and to move that conveyor belt along, then things just kind of start to stagnate. And that's the death.
I got you. So quick, just one word answer. Do you typically write from personal experience, like things that are happening in your life, or do you try and just story tell based on an idea or a?
I would say so. For you who are going to go on to Tidal and listen to the Shut-ins music,
Do they pay the best? Is it Tidal that pays the best? I think
it's
Apple Music and Tidal.
in my light research, they seem to do the.
No one has Tidal though.
They don't. They don't.
Apple Music they have.
but-
That's why I always promote that. I'm like, at least they're semi-decent.
Some people
with
will
it
have,
to pay.
my goal when I'm writing, some stuff is from personal experience, but for at least my band music, the goal is when I'm playing with the band is to elevate the vibes wherever we're at. And so we're transitioning to more kind of dancey, kind of upbeat, like not necessarily like skirting important messages and stuff like that, but people can hear my sad boy music when I'm playing solo acoustic at the open mic. And yeah, that sad boy music is a very valid genre.
Yes, there is. There was a whole the early 2000s
Yeah.
where
a lot of that sad boy.
inundated with sad boy music. Yeah.
And so, but for the band stuff that we're writing with like more production, the goal there is to raise the vibes wherever we're at. And so from personal one word answer,
So personal experience.
I would say personal experience and then like the goals of what we want to do moving forward.
Yeah.
Or what kind of experience we want to
I'm always the way I do it is personal experience, but protect the names of the innocent. You know what I mean? Like make it blur it enough where it's a little bit more not as specific. But I tend to write stuff sometimes too that's just stories, like just for the exercise of it, and it's fun to do that. So before we end, we do have this last segment that we're introducing, and it's very on point with what we just talked about.
Oh,
so
shame.
Shame
on
you streaming services.
Shame on you.
I need you streaming services, and I know we're probably going to get demonetized or whatever from this, or whatever the thing is. But pay musicians more on these streaming services. I know they're probably trying to get their shareholders money and that, but the whole reason that they even exist is because creators are making the music that gives them the ability to have a business. So
100%.
Can you wag your finger?
Shame
on you. Increase your pay, streaming
For real.
services. All right, so we're coming to the episode or the end of the episode.
Yo.
I want to have you on again.
I'd love to
because
be
this is a
on.
great conversation. I think we could get even deeper into the
Into the
into
cult?
this. Yeah, into the cult. I want to learn where that is and the tree houses especially. But why don't we take one more opportunity for you to tell people where you can where they can find your stuff and who you are.
You can find my band stuff, the Shut-Ins, on the Instagram and the Facebook. We're Shut-Ins the Band on Instagram and the Shut-Ins on Spotify and Facebook, I believe. And you can find me in Rochester playing open mics.
Yeah,
and
well-
the band playing bigger shows.
And hopefully a show together at some point
We
soon.
would love to do another one.
because we're working on
that
something.
Was a ton of fun.
But all the links will be in the description there, as long as you send them to me. Otherwise, they won't be there. So send them to me. Please go follow him. A great musician. We had a lot of fun playing that show together. I know
ton of fun.
it was during the middle of a snowstorm.
It was
on a
snowpocalypse.
Sunday. It was crazy.
It was
but we still had a
snowpocalypse.
bunch of people show up. I mean, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
we raised a good amount of money.
Yeah, it wasn't
awesome.
bad. So go follow him, listen to the music, and before we go down and like and subscribe, please. Tell Kent.
Do it.
Can you put a close up on Kenton real quick? Tell him, Kenton.
Like and subscribe, right?
Please.
Here or here,
Wherever-
or maybe here.
Yep.
It's in one of these areas.
One of the quadrants, the 4 quadrants of a rectangle. go like and say. I'll throw it all over the place. What do you need, baby? Go like and subscribe. Buy our merch, please. PatrickJoanne.com. It really helps us out. And you got a show coming up?
We're hitting a little bit of a songwriting.
so you're doing some-
songwriting focus for
right.
the next couple months.
So just Patrick Joanne band self promotion. We've got a new album coming out that's currently being mixed and mastered. Tone Studios is getting involved.
Shout out Tone Studios.
Yeah, Brian Moore, of course.
Yeah.
He produced our last thing. The music saved me. So we've got that coming. We've got a bunch of shows coming up. Some really cool stuff. We're playing with the band Tantric. Big band back in the 2000s, and still they're touring. So we're going to be doing that at Photo City. We've got a Loving Cup gig on 26. We're going to be hopefully doing a tour this year. We'll see, and I'll announce all that and all those dates when the time comes. Thank you, Allie. 50 episodes. I can't believe
That's
it.
huge.
I can't believe we're going to do shots of this here whiskey. I don't know if it's in the shot, but it's sitting right here before us for the 50th episode. And thank you all for really watching and listening. And you're the reason why we continue to do this. So we really appreciate it. Thank you, Allie, for being the producer for 50 episodes. Unpaid. I pay her 1 pence per episode. But thank you, and we'll see you on the next one. Kenton, tell the people. Say goodbye, Kenton.
Goodbye, Kenton.
There you go. Perfect.